Okay, so we're going to kick things off with a question that, on the surface, seems pretty straightforward. But as you're about to see, the answer is, well, it's a lot more complicated than you might think.
So let's start by looking at some recent events that are really blurring the lines between what it means to be in public office and what it means to run a private business.
Yeah, I know. It sounds like something out of a political novel, right? But believe it or not, just last week, this question stopped being a hypothetical and became very, very real. So here's what happened. Just this past February, representatives for President Trump filed applications to trademark his name for use on airports. And we're not just talking about the name on a sign. The trademarks would cover a whole range of merchandise, everything from clothing to luggage. And here's the real kicker. Any airport that wants to use that name, they would need a license, and that could mean cutting a check, paying a fee directly to a president's private company. So what's the big deal here? Why is this so unprecedented? Well, according to trademark lawyer Josh Gerben, we name landmarks after public officials all the time. That's normal. But this is the first time in history a sitting president's private company has tried to own the trademark rights before the naming even happens. It's completely flipping the script on how this usually works. And don't think for a second this is just some abstract legal theory. Nope, it's already in motion. There's a bill in Florida right now to rename Palm Beach International Airport, and they've put a price tag on it, $5.5 million to get it done. All of this really begs a bigger question, doesn't it? Was it always like this? To really get a handle on just how big of a shift this represents, we've got to go all the way back to the beginning, back to the standards set by the very first president. George Washington, he was so incredibly aware of his position, he knew that every single thing he did would set a precedent for the future. He was basically writing the rule book for the presidency as he went along. And right from the get-go, Washington laid down a core principle. See, he'd watched colonial lawmakers get rich off their positions, demanding payoffs, and he was absolutely determined that the presidency would be different. So in his very first inaugural address, he drew a line in the sand. This office was for public service, period, not for personal profit. Now, let's fast forward to the modern era and just look at that contrast. Experts estimate that during the Trump administration, the family was enriched by at least $4 billion through a mix of merchandise, political contributions, and business deals. A completely different world. But, the founders were smart. They didn't just bank on everyone having good intentions. They built a system, a whole series of checks and balances, specifically designed to hold power accountable. And for centuries, this system actually worked pretty well. The Constitution itself was a brilliant piece of engineering, designed to pit ambitions against each other. Then you get the rise of political parties, which created this built-in watchdog system, right? The party that's out of power has every incentive to expose the misdeeds of the party that's in power. And this system had real teeth. Think about 1974. It was Republican senators who told their own Republican president, Richard Nixon, that they would vote to convict him. That pressure is what forced his resignation. The system held. But you know who saw a potential crack in these safeguards? A threat that could undermine the whole thing? Washington himself. In his farewell address, Washington gave this incredible warning. He said that blind party loyalty would weaken the government, stir up false alarms, and, most critically, it would open the door to foreign influence and corruption. And when you look around today, you see events that seem to echo that very warning. A sitting president suing his own treasury for $10 billion, an OMB director diverting $15 million from foreign aid to pay for personal security, a Homeland Security secretary traveling in a $70 million luxury jet. The argument is that when partisan loyalty overrides oversight, this is the kind of behavior that can go unchecked. This brings us to what might be the ultimate motivation behind all of this: putting a name on buildings, on airports. It's all about legacy. This difference in philosophy was captured perfectly during a tour of Mount Vernon. President Trump was reportedly surprised that George Washington hadn't named his own estate after himself, which just reveals this fundamentally different view on how a leader secures their place in history. And right there, you have two completely different paths to a legacy. One is built on service and the restraint to voluntarily give up power, which Washington did twice. The other is pursued through branding, on the belief that you must put your name on things or you'll be forgotten. Just think about Mount Rushmore. The presidents immortalized up there were chosen for their national contributions, not their personal brands. The sculptor's vision was clear: Washington for founding the nation, Jefferson for expanding it, Lincoln for saving it, and Theodore Roosevelt for protecting its working people. And now, that very pursuit of legacy has been formalized. In September of 2025, the IRS granted tax-exempt status to a new charity, one that can accept tax-free donations. Its name? The Donald Trump Mount Rushmore Memorial Legacy. Ultimately, this isn't just about one president's actions or another's principles. It's about the standards we, as a nation, choose to accept for the future. And that leaves us with one final question to consider. What precedent is more powerful, the one a leader sets or the one a nation decides to accept?